Hello, everyone. There is a slight delay on Mr. Austin's end, so we'll try to begin as soon as possible.
So can any three of
Hello. Yes. Hello. Oh, Jaideep. Yes. Tell me, Jaideep. Sorry? So if you can just... for...
Sir, you're on mute.
Someone else is telling him. No. But we're trying to reach him. He is in which town? Sir, you are actually on unmute on the call. So we can hear you on the Zoom call. Okay. So then let me talk to you on the Zoom only. Right. That'd be great. Yeah. No, which town does he live in? Jaideep? Now you're on mute, Jaideep.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yes.
He lives in San Francisco.
San Francisco means 9:30 in the night.
Yes, sir.
You have no way of... I don't think... hope he hasn't gone to sleep.
No, so we were in touch with his assistant, but then suddenly, it has gone cold. So we're trying to reach to her. It's 9:50 p.m.
So let me do one thing. Let me do my things then. If he doesn't come by 12, can I assume it'll that event? You have another event at 12, isn't it?
Yes, sir. If he doesn't, he's not here at 12, so we can assume that it's probably not there. Right. Okay.
So this is on YouTube or only on Zoom at the moment?
It's on YouTube and Zoom both.
Okay.
Right.
So आप बोलिए मैं ऐसा करूँगा. So I will hang around in my office till 12 then.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So hello everyone on the call. The speaker is slightly delayed again. So we'll just send a message on the chat or let you all know when the speaker comes and we can begin there. Apologies for the delay. Yeah, hi Austin.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. How are you?
Good. So sorry,
about
I had the wrong time zone in my phone.
Okay. That's all right, I guess. No. Yeah.
So sorry.
No, it's all right. So we have a few members from ECell as well as our network on the call. So if you're okay, I'll record the session. I'll start the recording.
For sure. Yeah.
All right.
Recording in progress.
Yeah. So hello everyone. Welcome to Genesis, the Entrepreneurship Summit of IIM Calcutta, presented by HiRect in association with B2C. So the ECell of IIM Calcutta, in its quest to encourage the spirit of entrepreneurship in and around the campus, is conducting Genesis from 3rd to 5th December. So it's my great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr. Austen Allred, who is going to talk to us about the incentive-aligned education. Mr. Austen is founder and CEO of Lambda School, a computer science education school that is designed to be free until the student gets a job. Allred launched his startup while living in his car in San Francisco. Prior to the launch, he was a co-founder at Grasswire and the author of a best-selling book, Secret Sauce. He also worked as a senior manager at LendUp, a social team led at Stride, and was part of the founding team at Stubtopia. We thank you, Austen, for agreeing to come here, and I'm sure everyone will be benefiting from your session. And the stage is all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. It's good to get a chance to say hello. Apologies for having my time a little bit off. I switched time zones on my phone, and my calendar hadn't updated to the new time zone. But it's good to be with you all. I wanted to, spend just a minute talking about how what is now the Bloom Institute of Technology got started, and how we got to where we are, and kind of the lessons we can learn from that. And happy to turn over to Q&A at any time that you all would like. But yeah, the backstory of how we got going is, I moved out to Silicon Valley. I actually dropped out of college. I was kind of bored, and it was taking a long time, and it was pretty expensive. So I just drove. I had a 2-door Honda Civic, and I found a blog of a guy who had lived in his car, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then when I decided to go to Silicon Valley, rent was really expensive. So I just drove out and decided to live in my car. It was not exactly comfortable, but I taught myself to code while I lived in my car, and then eventually got my first job that way. And, when I would go back to small town in Utah, which is where I was before I moved out to San Francisco, folks all the time would ask, well, how can I do what you did? How can we follow the same path? And, when you do something that's as crazy as that, you don't feel good about saying, you don't feel as good about saying you should do exactly what I did. It's probably not the best path for most people. So, we started Lambda School to be really just, take a decent learn to code education and put it online. And that was really the extent of the initial vision. So I think one thing that tech founders get caught up in the trap of too often is trying to do too much too soon. For us, what we're known for now is being free until you're hired, or zero upfront, and there are dozens of clones of us in every field and every angle doing something similar. But that's actually not how we started. So we started out by saying, let's solve this very simple problem for folks who don't have access to something similar. So let's start out by simply building a school for folks who are not in a big city. We're not near a big city, and we're going to charge $10,000 up front. We're going to make it 3 months long, which is the same as every other code school. And that was really the initial impetus. And as we got going a little bit more, we started thinking about how we could, better serve our customers. So the business model that we have now, that I suppose has made us famous to some extent, was really just the outgrowth of an effort to better help a handful of customers. So we would teach free classes to get people interested in what we're doing, and to have them hear about us. And we called it a mini code boot camp. And we would, in the first one I ever taught, the first time I had ever taught anything at all, there were about 8,000 people in attendance. So I'd created a lesson plan the night before, and I was teaching HTML and CSS to 8,000 people as really the first class I had ever taught. And so we'd kind of work with those folks and say, you should pay for the whole thing. You should do the full 3-month school, and it's going to be $10,000. And everybody would say, well, I don't have $10,000. Do you have financing options? Are there loans available? And it was really, getting to understand, not just, we were not the only school that had that problem. Every school had people who wanted to attend, but didn't have $10,000, $20,000 up front. But I think it's the thing that really set us apart initially was trying to deeply understand exactly what problem people were trying to solve. So what we learned was that people weren't trying to solve the problem of, I don't have $10,000. They're actually trying to solve the problem of, what happens if this doesn't work out? What happens if I go to your school and I don't have a successful outcome on the other side? What happens if I end up with all this debt that I can't pay for? And when we realized that was the case, we started solving a different problem, which was, how can we eliminate the risk of post-secondary education? How can we make it so that if it doesn't work out, you don't have to pay anything? And that single insight really set off what is now $120 million in venture capital raised, and a giant team, and really a new industry. But it was a simple insight from a simple observation in the early days. So I don't know what we wanted to do here. I can keep chatting about all sorts of stuff, but I know we had some Q&A scheduled, and we can cut in and do Q&A whenever you all would like. Really up to you.
Hi, Austen. Yeah, sure. So right now we don't have any questions, as we told them that we'll take it towards the end. So
okay, great.
You can continue your story. We are
Awesome.
Really excited to hear it.
Yeah. So the next thing that we started working on was, we had we had this email list of call it 10,000 people, and that was the entirety of the business, was all these people who had signed up for the free courses and trying to get them to pay a little. So the first experiment we tried, we were always emailing the list of people and saying, hey, pay us $10,000, pay us $10,000. And so we tried an experiment that was, okay, I hear that people don't have a bunch of money up front and you don't really want to take out loans. So let's try a crazy experiment of what if we said you need to pay $1,000 up front, and then if you get hired, you owe us another, I think it was $10,000 or $11,000. And normally when we'd send out an email that was, hey, you should enroll in the school, we would get a response, maybe two, an application or two. This time, I think we got something like 200. So we're like, okay, that's, orders of magnitude of more interest. And if you think about most schools, the constraint of most schools is how many people want to attend. At least most, for-profit post-secondary schools what is the cost going to be to acquire a new student is the main thing that holds schools back. So I said, this is really interesting. The people are far more interested in that model. So then what if we go all the way? What if we make it completely zero upfront? And then I think that time we had something like 2,000 people apply. So we really quickly realized that, there's something that 1,000 times more people could participate in. And so, we'd originally started Lambda School to be, a small little bootstrapped company with 2 or 3 employees. And we realized that we accidentally stumbled upon something much bigger. So one thing that I think is really important for founders to understand is, don't turn up your nose at an idea because it seems small in the early days, especially if you are solving a big problem for some subset of people really, really well. And as you listen to customers, more stuff can grow out of that. And it was just me and my co-founder at the time, and we weren't taking a salary so that we could, get the first few cohorts to the point where they got a job and were paying back. And we talked about, fundraising and venture capital, but we decided that we wouldn't need to do that. We would just be able to bootstrap everything ourselves. But if we had like $100,000 in venture capital, we surmised that was all we would ever need to raise. So we eventually got into Y Combinator, which I think we were very lucky to do. Normally when, so for those of you that haven't heard of Y Combinator, it's an accelerator program that gives you $120,000 or $150,000, and you try to kickstart your company in 3 months. They give you advice, and then at the end, there's demo day when you can pitch to hundreds, or I guess today it may be thousands of investors. And so, we normally you interview for Y Combinator, and it's a single 10-minute interview, beginning to end, and they make a decision later that day. And the entirety of the process is 10 minutes. But before you get the invitation to that interview, which used to be in person, now it's virtual, if they weren't sure if they wanted to invite you in the first place, they would invite you to a virtual interview and kind of feel you out. So we got the invite to the virtual interview, which meant, they weren't even sure if they wanted to bring us out to the full interview. And apparently we passed that, so they brought us out to the full interview. And so, we went to the first interview. They asked us a bunch of questions. We felt we'd answered them okay, but not great. And we were done. That's it. That's the entire Y Combinator experience. So we went out to get pizza. We drove, 20 minutes away. And right after we had ordered our pizza, they said, we actually need you back to do another interview. We never do this. But you guys are right on the bubble, and we're not sure if we want to invest or not. So can you be back here